Welcome back to Success and Equity on BCTV. I'm your host, Francis Mayer, and we're going to speak to some authors. And I just put eye drops in. I'm not crying, although Professor Jack Hernandez just laid a doozy on me. This is a copy of the script Bridges that he wrote for a production that's coming to Bakersfield College very soon. Chris, if we could pull the poster up. Or we can just introduce these handsome gentlemen. Sitting to my left is Nicholas Meese. Nicholas, go ahead and let that whole beautiful name of yours out, though. All three acts.
Nicholas David Mice.
Yeah. See, he was supposed to be a writer. There's the poster. And this is the One Act Festival coming to Bakersfield College in the beautiful Performing Arts Center, April 27th, 28th, 29th, and you can visit bakersfieldcollege.edu for more information. But the wonderful thing about both these plays is that they were written by the gentleman sitting at the table with me. Professor Hernandez, you wrote Bridges. You're no stranger to writing. I know that you've written a lot of nonfiction and fiction and anything else that can be put on the page. But this is your first stab at drama.
That was my first stab at drama, yes, years ago.
Oh, you wrote this years ago.
I wrote this in pretty well the way it is in the spring of 1992.
Oh, a different world, as it were. A pre-9/11 world.
A pre-9/11 world, yeah.
Yeah,
but you know, the issues are still the same.
Boy, and you would know better than I. What inspired this? What was a catalyst for you to write
Well,
this?
what happened in the late summer of 91, my son, who was in his 20s, took his life. And he jumped from a bridge, either New York or Canada, near the border. And then, of course, that's a devastating thing to happen to any parent. I went on sabbatical in 92. I had a sabbatical scheduled, and you had to have a project. And I changed my project to a study of suicide. I was teaching philosophy full-time then, and I had never really I thought about it, but never really in that kind of depth. So I did that. I wrote some poems about it, and I also wrote this play.
And Professor, I'm going to use this opportunity to point out that right now, actually, on campus from 10 to noon, we're having a meeting about suicide prevention. A recent study at Cal State Bakersfield says, and this is self-reporting, so the truth might be even more horrifying, but 1 out of 10, if you look around campus, 1 out of 10 people on our campus have had a suicidal thought in the last year. It's the 10th leading cause of death in the world. It is the leading cause of death for people from 15 to 24 years of age, sometimes trumped by homicide, but not always. And the saddest thing about this is that it can be preventable, but we have to have open ears. And it was very brave of you to bring that up, because in researching last week's show, which was about suicide prevention, people don't want to talk about it. If you want to bring a conversation to a screaming halt, ask somebody if they've ever had a suicidal thought or known someone who took their own life.
Well, actually, let me say that I've had a little different experience. I wrote, along with that, a long essay on suicide, which I've updated. And last year, I presented that at several places in Bakersfield to various people, various audiences, and I was surprised at how many people came up after and talked to me about the fact that not so much even they had had suicidal thoughts, but also people they had known.
Yeah, well, in doing last week's show, in the lead up to it, when I was doing the research, I discovered that people that I usually bounce ideas off of, I would say, oh, so I'm doing a show on suicide prevention. And they'd be like, hey, did you get that new camera yet?
Yeah.
And it was stunning, because these are people that I usually can't get to stop talking about anything. But this topic brought things to a halt. Was there a catharsis for you in writing the script?
There really was. While there are autobiographical details in it, it really is a discussion between an older homeless man who had one time taught philosophy, but for various reasons couldn't, and the young man who is going to jump from the bridge. It's a discussion of what life means and where we get the meaning of life and what happens when somebody doesn't feel it doesn't mean anything anymore. So it's philosophical, but on a level that I think is accessible to everybody.
Well, the statistics tell us that it is accessible to everybody, and I cannot wait to see this.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. And I don't know how I'm going to respond. As I say, I've been involved in readings myself, but this will be the first time I've seen it staged, so I'm not sure, it's going to have an impact on me too.
Well, I imagine it would, and I feel like, without being trite, that's why writers do what writers do. I mean, to different dramatic degrees, that we're all trying to figure out what this thing is that we're all involved
right.
in here. Nicholas, is that the point of your writing? Are you trying to solve some of life's mysteries? Are you working things out on the page?
Definitely, yeah. That's why I do it. Yeah.
What is the title of your play that will be shown?
It's called "You're Nobody Till Somebody Loves You," which is based off a song. I forget by who, but it's an older song.
I think Dean Martin did.
That's
did
right,
that
Dean
before.
Martin. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was Dean Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was writing the script, I was listening to a music playlist, and that was the song that happened to be playing while I was writing it. And I was like, that sounds like a great title.
So is it a non sequitur title, or does that actually play into the content?
It plays into it. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. And when did you write this?
I wrote it about a couple of years ago for my class. I was taking theater class for Kimberly Chin, and we had an assignment to write a one-act play, like a short little play. And I never written a play before, but I like writing screenplays because I love movies. And I thought to myself, why not? It might be fun. So I cranked it out in about a day. It was the day before it was due, actually. And I just wrote whatever was on my mind, and I turned it in.
A great jazz musician once said, when being commissioned to compose a piece of music, they said, "How much time do you need?" And he said, "Baby, I don't need time. I need deadlines." And apparently you did too. It's the next to the liquor. It's one of the most popular fuels for writers. But you are handing something over to be interpreted. And Jack, I would bring this back to you, and I'll ask you also, Nicholas. Do you keep away from the rehearsal process? Do you want to meddle? And especially for you, with this being such an intimate source material for you? Or are you just going into this with an open heart and open eyes?
Well, I'm going in pretty well with an open heart because I know Kimberly Chin and the group will do a great job. I will be there for all 3 nights, and she's asked me if I would stay for Q&A after. I think she probably asked you too, and I said, yeah, I'll be glad to do that. But I pretty well trust them. Not pretty well. I absolutely trust them in terms of how they're going to decide what to do, and if they have to cut some lines and so forth, that's fine too.
Right, and that is one of the things that will drive a writer crazy is when stuff gets left on the cutting room floor, and you're like, that was the whole point. I can't believe you turned this into an action film. Adaptation is such a good. If you haven't seen that, Jack, I recommend it strongly. Wonderful movie. And Nicholas, coming back to your script, give me the elevator pitch. What is the thing about?
Oh man, I'm the worst at that. I'm the worst at pitching things to people. It's more about, I guess, the feeling of it to me than the plot. Mm-hmm. But the plot essentially is, it takes place in New York, and it's about these 2 friends, these 2 women who have not seen each other for a while since they graduated college.
So the protagonists are women?
Sure, yeah. Well, I mean, it's 2 couples.
Okay.
So there's 2 male characters as well. But I'd say the 2 protagonists are one of the male characters and one of the female characters.
Okay.
So.
And what is the feeling then?
The feeling, I guess, it's just dissatisfaction of your life, and I guess the possibilities of changing it.
Wow.
If I had to sum
Okay.
it up, yeah.
Is it hopeful?
Not really.
All right, Jack, bail me out here, baby. Is Bridges a hopeful piece?
Well, it depends on who you fast on. The homeless man, he has a hopeful view of life, even though he's homeless, and his life in some way hasn't turned out the way. He has a hopeful view of life. His view is, look, you're living, we have life, this is what we have, enjoy it, grab it, whatever comes to you. The young man is not, because the young man has lost everything, including love. And while for many people you just go on, the young man can't go on. He cannot see life as meaningful. So it depends on which one you. And the play opens with a long monologue by the homeless man, and then a long monologue at the end. And the last part of the monologue is using Camus, the myth of Sisyphus, that we're rolling our rock up and down. His point is, listen, essentially, my friends, roll your rock. That's all we have.
And you may well be correct, and we meet people along the way when we're rolling our rocks, and they inspire us, and maybe the longer we roll our rock, maybe our technique gets better, right?
Right.
And we learn a little perspective. Nick and I were talking off the air about where I came from, and I came from a town that frankly I despise, and it is. Oh gosh, I'll pass judgment on it because I feel like being honest. It's full of rednecks and small-minded people and bigotry and things like that. And I don't miss it in the slightest. And there were times that I despaired when I was young, and I look back on it, and I never knew when I was younger that I had the power to leave and move away.
That's right, yeah.
And leave it in the rearview mirror, and good riddance, I say to it.
Yeah.
And that is one of the blessings of getting older, isn't it? That we can put things in some
You
perspective.
can put in some perspective. That's absolutely right, yeah. But I do think the question of meaning comes up at various ages. Certainly as people get much older, then the question erupts again, I think. I think it probably erupts maybe less during those middle years when you're charging ahead and doing things, but at the end, it can erupt again.
Well, and again, this play, Bridges, is about a young person who is questioning the meaning of life and wants to take their own life. And you're correct, the statistics reflect that as well with death by suicide, that it does peak again in later life.
Yep.
And Professor, well, we thank you for your bravery. I'm
thank you
looking
very
forward to
much.
this.
Thank you very much.
Me too, yeah.
Thanks.
We're excited to see these, and it's incredible. Again, this is what inspires me, folks, as I get to work on the Bakersfield College campus at 1801 Panorama. Everybody watching this has the ability to even take just one class there, like the late Karen Floyd, who passed away earlier this month. She took the long road to getting a PhD. She took classes at BC for over a decade and went in to see a guidance counselor one day and found out that it was time to transfer and ended up getting a PhD. She did it one piece at a time, like the Johnny Cash song goes, and you can do it too, and you'll get to meet wonderful people doing wonderful things. And today's a good day to sign up, right? So the one-act play show is coming up again. Chris, if we could toss that up. It's toward the end of the month in the newly renovated Performing Arts Center. I heard that the same engineers that do there, it's over my shoulder. That's called OTS in the TV business, over the shoulder. April 27th, 28th, 29th in the Performing Arts Center, and it's gorgeous. If you need an excuse to come, this is it. Bakersfield, grown and written. Catch it soon. Coming up next, we're going to talk more with Nick and the director of his play. That's going to wrap up the show on BCTV. Stick around.